to close out today, in continuing our discussion of people associated with politics and people in the political media who more than anything just desperately want to be liked and seen as funny and cool, we got to talk about our girl, Olivia Reingold. Because I know we talked about her on Monday and her lovely article, The Gaza Famine Myth, that has had some reverberating consequences in her personal life, including being disinvited from several weddings of her close friends growing up, and just generally being ostracized from polite society because she wrote an article in which she declared that children suffering of rickets was a pre-existing condition that had nothing to do with malnutrition.
I've been totally fucking ossified.
Just because I wrote the most evil bit of journalism by wide consensus that has ever appeared in the English language. For that reason and no other, all of the people that used to hang out with me now seem to think less of me.
Yeah, it's just like she's receiving a lot of hate. And it's very unfair because it's hate, just people hate her simply because of the things she says and does. And Dave, I know you, a defector, wrote about her in the Free Press and her like ongoing crusade against all of her former friends who now have stabbed her in the back. But thanks to the X, the Everything app, which now allows you to post like 1,000-word tweets, I've got a tweet level reading series from Olivia Reingold this week, and there are two of her posts, one from this week and then one from last year, that I think will help cast some light onto the character and profile of this young woman and journalist. So the one she wrote this week was, quote, "Most newsrooms I've worked in have been obsessed with mental health. Once my editor offered us January 6th off to process the trauma of the Capitol riot, even though we were all working from home in our pajamas. The New York Times nearly revolted over an op-ed in 2020 that some claimed it could literally kill them. Most journalism conferences I've been to have had sessions on work-life balance. The listservs I've used to belong to were full of messages about demanding bosses or chronic migraines. It's an obsession. And yet, not a single journalist outside my Free Press bubble has checked in since October 7th.
I mean, I always, this is like such a funny, I mean, again, like who gives a shit about hypocrisy? But like this is always the funny thing about like specifically like American Hasbars, right? That they will post like all those hilarious like drawings of lions and we're Maccabees, we're not Jews who apologize. And then all their stuff is like, I had to make social sacrifices for Israel. Can you believe this? And it's, some gave all.
It's also,
I mean, do you believe in this shit or not?
Yeah. That's the bit where I think that like tonally, you could do a post that was exactly as annoying and wrongheaded as this, but that is much less whiny, which is basically like my awful opinions have fucked my life. But, it's like basically like trying to recast the like keep screaming, shut the fuck up at me. It only makes my opinions worse. But like trying to make that like a hero's journey. Instead.
Yeah.
Like, you could do it. It's just like these people are not capable of like getting beyond the initial offense at like even tenuously. And in this case, it's just basically like you're getting fewer texts from your friends than you used to. But any modicum of responsibility for the shit that they do and say arrives as like I was murdered, the worst crime that could possibly happen to you.
I mean, that would require them to stop and think for like 1 second and not just be like libidinally thrilled that they have a new grievance.
Olivia continues. She writes, "Now that peace is on the horizon, I took a moment to reflect last night." This is,
I enjoyed a little Olivia time.
This is the first time I've encountered reflection. But she writes, "And realized that yes, there's been a certain level of trauma to covering these past 2 years. Imagine men in your face, spitting with rage, calling you a baby killer. Imagine infiltrating spaces where people call for your eradication. Imagine what are you in the Young Republicans group chat, Olivia? Right. Did you do any reporting on that? It says, imagine coordinated cyber harassment campaigns inundating you with thousands of hate comments per day. It's like, do you want to engage in controversial political issues as a public figure or not? Do you want to get paid for doing this and be heralded as brave for your bold, heterodox ideological stances? Or do you want everyone to be nice to you?
Because this is so transparently so much of the Free Press with this. It is a career calculation that these people made. Not to say that Olivia Reingold doesn't mean all this shit. I have no reason to believe that she doesn't. I'm sure that she, like, you couldn't produce work that evil if you weren't like a little bit evil too. But I think that like all of this, you play this game on easy mode when you decide to do the shit that she does at the Free Press. Like she could be like grinding news stories at like npr.org for the rest of her life until that position is eliminated due to budget cuts. She could be trying to get a job at a fucking newspaper or a website where you have an editor that makes you like do the basic blocking and tackling required to clear the journalistic standards of that place. Or you can just go fucking do this and be the hero of your own story at a website that like does not have anything like those standards.
A quick correction on my part. It was Michael Ames who wrote the Gaza famine myth article. Olivia did the story where she claimed that children suffering of rickets, it was a pre-existing condition that had nothing to, and also included in one of the children she was talking about, which was being used to fool the world, was merely a kid suffering because he had the top of his skull blown off by an Israeli shell and was not starving to death. She wanted to make that very clear. But
both stories ran at the same website though, right?
Yeah, they ran at the same, both
stuff.
Free Press. Yeah.
Yep.
So she says here, none of my journalism professors reached out. Like, none of my college professors have talked to me since I graduated college. Like, what kind of relationship did you have with these people? Like,
what do you think
they kept saying, like, oh, college is a safe space these days. But 10 years after I graduated, none of my college professors noticed my special article and that people were mean to me about it.
Like, and what are they supposed to do? Like, if you want your college professor to message you because they're like, hey, I was searching your mentions like always. I noticed people are really mad at you. Like,
I noticed from your media tab that you've been. It's like,
yeah, if someone I was like actually friends with did that, I would be like, let's kill each other.
Yeah. Also, what's the occasion here is that nobody reached out to be like, hey, congrats on the ceasefire agreement? Is that
no one reached out to ask how she was doing because of all the hate she was receiving because of her hateful job.
Okay.
But so she says here, at Columbia Journalism School, they spoke a big game about always being there for us, about how we could join groups that would help protect us and defend our work. Those same
You're
institutions.
34.
Yes,
that was 10 years ago.
She says, imagine coordinate. No, she says those same institutions were wielded against reporters like me. It's like, look, I had some very good college professors that I still think fondly of, but for the most part, as soon as I graduated college, I stopped thinking about it, and everyone like.
And I hope they stop thinking about me.
Yes, exactly. I don't.
That's not their job. Like there's like another version of me coming up that's like even more fucked up than I was, that it's going to need their help.
Like she is part of a media institution and an ideological political movement that is seeking to purge academia and public life of any reference to Palestinian people or the Palestinian struggle or Palestinian solidarity. She's flat out. And now she's basically complaining that like her professors still aren't there for her, helping her career 10 or 15 years after she graduated.
This is such a great, like, I love how anytime we like bring up, so anything about hypocrisy, we're like, obvious caveat, hypocrisy doesn't mean anything in politics anymore. But Olivia, her attempt to like catch her ideological enemies in hypocrisy is, how come my professors didn't let me sleep in their bed 14 years after I graduated?
Would it have been too much for the Columbia School of Journalism to send me an edible arrangement after I published a story debunking how hungry a brutalized child was?
Yeah. Like, in her mind, like, what are they supposed to do?
Yeah. This is, I think,
hey, Olivia, I know you graduated like 4 presidents ago, but you were always one of the most mentally feeble and idiotic of my students.
Right.
I'm really concerned about you.
I see your new job is accusing dying children of being anti-Semitic liars. Just in case you are considering following the instructions of tweets you get telling you to kill yourself, I'm going to tell you, don't do that. You don't get to start over. At least I don't think so. If you need to stay at my house, here are my keys are under the fucking urn. Like, what is the proper thing to do for them to not be hypocrites in her eyes here?
It's also, I think that like to the point about the hypocrisy thing, it's like, it's telling that, I mean, obviously it's not disqualifying. I think we've all sort of lived through a time when it wasn't like disqualifying, but where it would be like the sort of thing you'd have to address. And now for public figures, you really don't anymore. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that it's not pathetic. like you're still allowed to look at this sort of conduct and be like, that is just behavior unbecoming for an adult.
It's just like it's fucking weak. It's weak-minded if you're an adult to be like this. And this next sentence is my favorite. A few reporters I completed Report for America with have become my biggest harassers. a few of the kids I used to do my homework with are now harassing me as a 30-year-old.
I'm being gang stalked by people that I was on Zoom calls with.
He goes,
grow up, man.
Just yesterday, an NPR host I once interned for sent me a message intended to break my spirit. And it worked. He goes, I caught a former friend from Colombia, a girl who comes from media royalty, liking negative tweets about me. Oh. Dude, is this why you haven't been responding to my texts asking to hang out? I immediately texted her. I could go on. The point is that October 7th. So yeah, Olivia, why are you stopping?
Yeah,
wait, you could?
This is great stuff.
Always leave them wanting more.
Yeah. He goes, I could go on. The point is that October 7th changed the world and my own understanding of my profession. Journalists are supposed to have tough skin. When chaos breaks out, we're meant to run toward the fire, not away from it. You don't have to like my work, but that's how I see my work over the past 2 years, documenting the burning building, the bitterness that's consuming American politics, and the ideologues rebranding violence as progressive necessity. The good news is I'm okay. Of course I am. Sure, it's derailed a couple of my days. It's true. I thought there was a 50-50 chance I was going to die in one instance, but it hasn't gotten me down. Wow.
My mom teaches yoga to like elderly people, people who with grievous bodily injuries, people with disabilities. And I think her job is significantly more dangerous than Olivia's. She's at a far greater risk, I feel.
So she goes on and talked about in fact, this has only toughened my skin for what's next, because if there's one thing the past 20,
it's only made me more normal, as this 1,500 word tweet testifies.
Well, okay. That's Olivia this week, but Felix, I really want to read the Olivia post that you discovered from last year, because I feel like this is kind of a Rosetta Stone for how a person like this is produced. And keep in mind that again, even if I felt the same way Olivia does about if I had lost friends because of things I've said on the show, which I haven't, by the way, because everything I've said on the show is morally correct and admirable. I would not be sharing this publicly because it's just it's undignified and it's weak.
Yeah.
Because it's if you want to take part in the public sphere, if you want to be a public figure and get paid for your work, opining and offering controversial political views, what you put out there into the world, you're going to get back twofold in return. So Olivia's articles, like you said, David, questioning how hungry a brutalized child is. It's I wouldn't expect when you do work like that. Yeah, you better have tough skin, Olivia. But this post here is not evidence of your tough skin. It's evidence of the opposite of how feeble-minded you are.
That has always been one of my least favorite things is people who have a sensibility kind of like ours, where they make fun, they shit on people and make fun of people's appearances or make fun of their various mental illnesses. And then when someone does it to them, how the fuck could you do this? I'm just a person, and I'm pretty proud of the fact that we never really engage in that. But even those people have more. They have more of a case than someone who's writing an article that's this sick child is a fucking liar.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, you get one, but you don't get both. If you want to take advantage of the fact that there is a kind of disturbingly robust market for stories like that, and just make that decision to write those stories and have the sort of career that she is presumably having right now. I guess in the sense that the Free Press just got fucking sold to CBS News. She's going to be on TV probably, it's worked out for her. But it's the choice that you made to take this sort of shortcut at the, it has to come at a cost. It came at a cost to your eternal soul, obviously, in terms of the work you're doing. But it's also if you want to do laudable work and be lauded for it, that's fine. That's harder though. Like if you want to do like fucking cheap jack work that flatters power and then people are like, hey, your work is really cheap and it flatters power. You don't get to fucking cry about it.
And not just flatters power, but is like the modern equivalent of like Nazi
like
propaganda. Nazi propaganda.
Well,
yeah,
it's like,
look how happy people in the ghettos are. Look, they have a swimming pool at Auschwitz. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
You know what's incredibly telling to me? That no one, not a single person, like on the pro-Israel side, not even like the biggest, like, the Likudnik psychopath right winger, none of them are like, hey, I'm on your side, but this is fucking embarrassing. You sound incredibly feeble and feeble-minded and stupid and weak, and you are bragging about how weak you are. That none of them are saying this.
And like, if you believe that the cause of Zionism and defending it in 2025 is like your life's calling and work, and it's what you were put on this earth to do, then maybe losing a couple college friends is worth it.
Right. If it's that important, then there has to be some, like, you can't expect it to also be easy, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Right. You're saying this is existential. Like, the no more Jews if we don't do this, if we don't say these kids are lying. Okay, then sounds like you got off fine. Your roommate's cousin won't email you anymore. Okay.
But to go into the next Olivia post, which I'll try to do this one quickly. But like, as Felix said, one thing we would never do on this show is make fun of anyone's mental illness. Now, on to this next Olivia post. So this
that having been said,
this is an Olivia post from last year. She begins, quote, "Gentle parents, please listen to this before you create another kid like me, whose life was nearly derailed by 15 plus years of therapy." So parents out there, heed Olivia's words before you create another person like her. She writes, "By the time I was 4 or 5, it was clear I had emotional problems. I would sometimes sit at the foot of our stairs hyperventilating over something as simple as the discomfort of a seam in my sock. When a homeless person stopped my mother and me on the streets of the New York City to ask for some change to buy a cup of soup, I remember going back to our hotel room to weep, disturbed by the way strangers, including us, walked past him without helping." I'm glad to know Olivia has gotten over her discomfort when confronting human suffering. I'm glad she's matured past that stage in her life. But she says, "By kindergarten, I was in therapy. By 5th grade, I was on mood stabilizers, perhaps justifiably, since by then I'd developed suicidal ideation. Therapy did not create my emotional problems, neither did culture. This was before the rise of social media. But what therapy did was convince me that my problems were immutable and perhaps even genetically encoded in my DNA." What therapist did your parents send you to?
Yeah, this sounds...
What fucking quack were you talking to?
Yeah, getting like packed off. Like my parents put me in a stagecoach and sent me to the 19th century where I was treated by a man. He wasn't a psychiatrist. He made nerve tonic and sold it out of the back of a wagon, mostly. He measured my head, and what he found there will be, unbelievable.
By the time I was 16, I was anorexic. When I had to drop out of college as a sophomore, my doctor looked me in my eyes and told me my condition was like cancer. "If you don't treat this, it will get worse," she said. Over the next 5 years, when I was in and out of treatment centers, various doctors reminded me that eating disorders have one of the highest mortality rates of any psychiatric illness. Warnings the medical system now issues about gender dysphoria, although they say that is an immutable issue of identity, not mental health. Thanks for that little editorializing.
Yeah, get that needle in there.
Yeah. Therapy
anyway, back to my problems.
Anyway, back to my life.
Yeah.
Therapy is how I became convinced that I came from a long line of eating disordered women. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
That was originally what Russell Crowe said in Gladiator when he confronts Joaquin Phoenix.
Father to an eating disordered son to an eating disordered father.
Owner of a snatched face. And I will serve cunt. Next.
I don't know if you remember, but you chopped and washed my family. He goes, "I reflected upon my maternal line and swore that my mother, her mother, and her mother's mother were all riddled with eating disorders. The truth is that my grandmother was sick with anorexia, but I believe it was simply a culturally sanctioned way to express her distress. At 20 years old, I was freshly out of treatment and 100% insufferable." How old is she now? Like in her 30s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, I love that the thrust of this is like therapists like ruined my life by pathologizing all of my myriad mental illnesses. And they made me obsess over my grievances and everything. But the article itself is like what were they supposed to say? Hey, bitch, I see you aren't eating.
Yeah,
Cheer
right.
up.
Like the idea.
Like, no, do you want that? Like, they are supposed to take eating disorders seriously. They do, in fact, like kill people.
Yeah.
Like, what were they supposed to do? And
she actually does offer some advice when you get to the end of this. But it says here, at 20 years old, I was freshly out of treatment and 100% insufferable. I saw harms everywhere. We even had a word for them in my support groups: trigger warnings. I had a vendetta against Starbucks branding of its low-calorie beverages as skinny lattes, believing it was a slight to the anorexics of the world. Boy, I love how she's totally grown past this and not just replaced anorexia for the state of Israel in terms of the things that she loses her mind over.
I don't want you to give anything away, but I think you should tell me now if this ends with her revealing that she's a Scientologist.
It does not.
All right.
He goes, I blistered over in anger when I learned that my cousin, a bar owner, was considering offering skinny girl margaritas to customers, convinced he was aiding and abetting eating disorders. God, it's hard to believe why no one wants to be friends with this person. But I forgot. This is when she was 20 and insufferable, and not now as the mature, sophisticated
she's
adult.
grown a lot.
I felt personally offended by gyms that kept scales in their locker rooms. I told anyone I dated to avoid mention of all numbers, that I never wanted to hear how many miles they... hey, Olivia, can I pick you up at 3:30? No!
Don't say that.
Don't say it!
Just describe the azimuth of the sun. I'll know.
Hey, how about we grab a couple drinks? Fucking kill yourself!
I to avoid all mentions of numbers, that I never wanted to hear how many miles they ran, what pant size they wore, how much they weighed, or how many calories they consumed. Not ever. You know what made me better? Less validation. It was the fearless parenting style of my beloved Aunt Melanie that made me better. I lived with Melanie in Atlanta for 5 years. When I told her I was contemplating throwing up a meal, she told me she'd like to have a word with my eating disorder. Yeah, she'd say, can you tell it to shut the fuck up? She told me that yes, it was going to be hard to keep meals down, but that you bet I could do it. She helped me develop confidence. Slowly, I cultivated an identity beyond being just sick. Well, Olivia, not so fast, Ms. Reingold. Melanie taught me that I could sit through discomfort, and in fact, discomfort was my medicine. I'll say that again. Discomfort was my medicine. Your kid might be going through something right now, but I want to posit that what they actually need is less validation and these two sentences. 1, yes, it is hard. 2, you bet you can do it, kiddo. Thank you to all the parents with courage to buck the system. Thank you to the non-gentle parents. Too long, didn't read. How therapy broke me, but some good old-fashioned rub some dirt in it parenting from my beloved aunt healed me.
I love that her parents just like tapped out. they were like,
after 15 years of therapy, she's still fucking totally sick in the head.
Yeah,
go to live in Atlanta with your spinster aunt.
Yeah. Hey, Olivia, you're only 29. We're sending you to a halfway house staffed by downloads in Atlanta. You have a special barber shop that you're going to work at. We think you're really going to like it.
It does sort of like feel like a revealing look into like the mindset that produces the work that she's done.
Absolutely.
In the sense that it's like just incapable of understanding the fact that like all of these things can be true at the same time, that like the therapists were trying, your aunt was trying, everybody was trying. It really is hard. There has to be a fucking bad guy here, and it has to be like sort of coded in a way that is going to like, I mean, this is where I think that she's got the like the free press thing where like, I mean, Barry Weiss's actual skill as a business person, I mean, or journalist, I suppose, I don't know, is that like she knows how to like suck up to like old shitty rich guys. Like she knows how to kind of flatter them. She knows how to get money from them. She knows how to tell them stuff that they like already believe to be true. And in this case, I think that like why you would do a 1,200 word post about your difficult life that doesn't end with like life's worth living. There, you should try to get help, whatever. Like all of this, the idea that all of this is going in the direction of like, what you need is like Bill Parcells mindset to like get out of this. Like you need to like fucking get tough. Yeah. Like that is, it just feels like it is beyond like the sort of sociopathic lack of insight in it. Like it feels overworked to me. Like it feels like it is like sort of like pandering to the sort of person who's like, I suspect that eating disorders are not legitimate and that women just don't like bread.
Yeah.
I love that like to agree with, to like read this and go, wow, you really figured this out. You have to genuinely like read her output now, which, we don't even have to remind you, but the thing we read before this was my professor from 15 years ago didn't build a bomb shelter for me in Long Island. And go, well, you certainly don't sound like Caitlyn from The Sopranos at all. Like, no, you are still an insane fucking narcissist.
An insane and malevolent narcissist who is a burden to everyone close to her, who now is backing for the fucking exits. And it reminds me of like when someone is like has an addiction problem and they quit like drinking or drugs, they need to replace it with something and they become obsessed with that thing. And it's just like when I was insufferable in my 20s, I would get angry at my cousin for serving like, a low calorie addition to his menu because I thought that was encouraging anorexia. But now it's like, she's like, I've recovered from all that and I'm much better now. And I merely do the same thing when I see someone with a sign that says Free Palestine.
Right. I was going to say, like, the person that went no contact with her parents because she heard her dad say the number 18. That person that's not me anymore. Now I'm much more tolerant of certain things.
Now I go after real like non-grievance stuff, like when Rachel Ray wears a terror scarf. Miss Rachel. All the like real shit in the world. I know we've said it already, but again, it is like, what are the doctors and therapists that, but now she's just foisting all her grievances on them now, kind of, even though she says she's not. What were they supposed to have done?
Well, I would say they probably shouldn't have told her that like her mental illness was encoded in her DNA.
Yeah, that was a crazy man.
I suspect that was a guy who was not quite as being
that was the therapist that reads Janice's screenplay.
Yeah, right.
but the doctor who is like, okay, you have an eating disorder, you have to treat it, it can be fatal. Like, what was she supposed to say? Like, eat or don't eat. I don't care, sister. Just don't call me late for dinner.
Yeah.
Like, what? Right. She's supposed to be like, I know that like we're supposed to believe these things are real, but I think they're stupid. Like, she's a doctor, you shithead.
Yeah. I just feel like you can't get there with her. That there's like the guy that says that she's got the disordered eating mid-chlorians, and then there's the person that actually tries to talk to her like she's like a suffering person, and both of them are just fucking assholes until she meets whatever Atlanta party aunt.
That doctor did not sound like condescending or like overly severe. It's just, it's literally true that like malnutrition can be incredibly hazardous to your health to the point of death.
You think that's a lesson she would have learned in her current work?
That's up for debate with her.
She's been living her whole life is like trying to disprove that obviously true statement.
Oh my God.
Malnutrition isn't real.
Yeah.
Is that what you think's like the parents of like these like horribly brutalized kids should do?
Rub some dirt in it.
Yeah, I know you have muscular dystrophy, but you're stronger than your disease.
Oh my God. Well,
there are like people. There are people of like greater consequence out there. People who like have effectively, caused and will cause like greater ills on the world, right? But she is the most fucking irritating one. Like, she is the perfect avatar for these people. More
you can't
so
talk
than
about
Barry.
you can't talk about how like your job is being brave and running towards the fire, and how thick your skin is now, despite the slings and arrows of uproarium and polite society, and then like produce 2 posts like this.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can't do it. Can't have
Right.
it. Sorry, can't have it. Can't have it.
Yeah.
It's just it is not healthy to think about yourself this much. To write this and go, not have like even an inkling of like, maybe this is fucking boring,
Yeah.
or I'm an idiot.
Or
That's
maybe
what
this
I'm-
is not. Maybe my life experience isn't universally applicable into like quote the way we raise kids today.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
bit that I,
quote,
that I
that, quote,
actually
produces
object to.
people like me.
Right. Because
Did
it's like
did she have kids, by the way?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know.
Because we'd already have gotten an article that was like, I've noticed a lot of women are bad at being pregnant.
Yeah.
Here's what I
We
think
already got an
about.
article. We already got an article attacking Ms. Rachel for trying to
Yeah.
indoctrinate her kids with the idea that
being
killing other
gang
children is
stalked
bad.
by the cast
Yeah.
of Caillou.
Have you noticed that busy boxes are getting unrealistically difficult? I'm one of the smartest people I know, and I cannot figure this shit out.
The bit I will say one thing about Patrick Redford's very good story about the free press, and then we can stop talking about it. The point that he made in it that obviously defectors kicked it around a lot. Like, it's a bad website. It's like a pretty dark-sided website in my estimation. The point that Patrick made about like what is actually ominous about it entering the sort of CBS News omnibus. And I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a good chance that Barry just fucks it up and it doesn't do, anything more than like some significant damage and wrecks some people's careers, but it doesn't completely plow the thing into the toilet. But Patrick's point was that like the goal here is not for like the free press to become the National Review. It's for like the free press to become the leftmost point.
Yeah.
In media,
Yeah.
not
Yep.
like
Yeah.
the new
Yep.
right. That they don't want to go necessarily.
Because
too far right.
we've already discussed on this episode where the horizons of the new right are
Right,
going.
I was gonna say,
And like the thing is like that's not a threat to them, but like what's so much more powerful is being able to set and then enforce the boundaries of what is the furthest left, what is the furthest alternate to like straight up Nazi Holocaust rape empire that you're allowed to say.
yeah, there's like one side of it, like the right, which is forever racing further to the right, is just like more and more raffle emojis at every bad thing that happens in the world. But then the bit of it that like the free press would be trying to police is like, it's the sort of shit that we've seen them do about like Gaza, like for 2 years now, which is basically like, is this real? Are you sure? Like, do we really know? Is famine real? Is malnutrition real? All of which is like beyond the fact that it's like evil in context. It's also like, it's just fucking like bubble-headed stuff. You could call 2 public health professors and they would tell you the answer. And then you would have a 400-word blog, news you could use.
Well, that's the thing.
But that's
Olivia
not
doesn't
what they do.
as we talked to Jeremy and Ryan, like no one who works for this outlet does actual journalism where you like talk to someone on the phone or have
Yeah.
sources or anything like that. They're just like an NYPD officer who's unnamed told me that Zoran, he's going to leave the force if Zoran becomes mayor. Wow, that's a story.
Yeah, incredible.
Send that to the press. Like,
Yeah, like basically like the living end of fucking dog bites man is like cop talk shit, complains about Democratic mayor. Like that is not your lead story tonight. Like that is just like
Yeah.
been happening.